All right, Wilson, let's hit it. We're not getting any younger. 33 degrees out there right now in Billings, 629 as we look at First News. It's fair, it's accurate, you get the damn truth. Man charged in the murder and killing of the CEO of United Healthcare made it clear he's not going to make things easy on authorities. Luigi Mangione was shouting and writing in the grip of sheriff's deputies as he was led into court Tuesday. Once he was inside, he objected being brought to New York to face trial. The displays of resistance were not expected to significantly delay any of the legal proceedings for Mangione, who was charged last week in the killing of Brian Thompson. Little information has come out about motivation, though writings found in his possession hinted at vague hatred towards corporate greed in America. Law enforcement officials said that a man with a gun thought to be similar to the one used in the killing of United Healthcare's CEO has been taken into custody for questioning now in Pennsylvania. Police got a tip that he had been spotted at a McDonald's near Altoona. Official couldn't really discuss it, but along with the gun, police also found a silencer, fake IDs, and writings that were critical of the health insurance industry, according to the officials. Well, if you're traveling east today, you may encounter some delays. The East Coast is experiencing some early stages of some winter weather, due in part to a Pineapple Express. The storm's expected to bring heavy rain and some gusty winds to that area Wednesday night and into tomorrow, possibly even with some flooding. They're going to get so much rain. Utilities in the Northeast gearing up for power outages. Winds could be 60 miles an hour there. One of the key factors driving weather is this moisture, long band of water vapor that is coming in from the tropics and some northern areas. Weather conditions are forecasted to improve this week in Southern California. Firefighters are battling a big wildfire there that forced 20,000 people to be evacuated. The blaze was 4.8 square miles, no containment. It's not known how the Franklin fire got started as it tore through part of Malibu. That's where 10,000 people live on the western edge of L.A. Stunning scenery, seaside bluffs. Celebrities live there, Cher, Dick Van Dyke, and others. They were among some of the evacuees that had to leave their homes in California. Happens every year at this time. Santa Ana winds always pick up in the late fall and make fire conditions touchy out there. In fact, yesterday they closed Pepperdine University because of the fires. Decided to keep the kids out of the classrooms. South Korea's previous defense minister was stopped from attempting suicide while he was in detention. Officials said former defense minister Kim Jong-un tried to kill himself at the detention center in Seoul, South Korea. Correctional officials stopped him. He was in stable condition. He was one of the president's close associates, has been accused of recommending martial law to Yoon and sending in troops to block lawmakers from voting on his exit from office. Joe Biden has approved a new national security memorandum. It's meant to serve as a roadmap for President Trump as it looks to counter growing cooperation among China, Iran, North Korea, and Russia. The memorandum was shaped to help the next administration build its approach from day one on how to deal with these relationships. According to two senior administration officials, they said this is being released, but President Trump is not going to use Joe Biden's approach to China, Iran, North Korea, and Russia. They have all joined alliances, by the way, all four of those countries together, as things get heated up over there still with the wars that are raging. President-elect Trump made some more job announcements yesterday. He has selected Andrew Ferguson as the next chair of the Federal Trade Commission. Kimberly Guilfoyle would be an ambassador to Greece. Tom Barrack, the ambassador to Turkey. Ferguson's already one of the FTC's 5 commissioners anyway, and Guilfoyle is engaged to Donald Trump, or became engaged in 2020. Tom Barrack's a longtime friend of his, former Trump ally, as he continues to put his staff and cabinet members in place. New report out today. Sexual abuse and harassment by coaches and others who held positions of power over women on the U.S. biathlon team were basically either dismissed, ignored, or excused over decades by officials that were more concerned concerned about winning medals than holding the offenders accountable, according to a new report. And while the men involved climbed the ranks of the sport, these women described a culture of abuse dating back all the way to the 1990s. One coach resigned after a young athlete. He was accused of sexually abusing attempted suicide. Max Cobb, who the women said was informed but failed to address the claims, went from U.S. domestic team manager to CEO of the Biathlon Association. Two male coaches and a former racer on the team confirmed the culture of misogyny described by the women, as now more and more information about it is coming out. Also, we got another report yesterday on the assassination attempt of President Trump. A congressional task force looking into that attempt against Trump during his campaign, recommending major changes to our Secret Service, includes protecting fewer foreign leaders during the height of election season, and also considering moving the agency out of the Department of Homeland Security. A report released yesterday constitutes one of the most detailed looks into the assassination of former President Trump during a campaign rally in Pennsylvania. Then another one 2 months later down in Florida, where the assassin was still there with his guns ready to go at the golf course. Congressional reports said they were tragic and they were preventable. The report's authors noted the number of people in the agency tasked with protecting has been greatly expanded now, and that is something, folks, that is going to have to be fixed from top to bottom. Only 2 out of 10 Americans said President Joe Biden's pardon of his son was the right thing to do. 80% of Americans said should have never happened. No one's above the law. New poll out, not looking good. But it won't be the last. Word on the street, Joe Biden's getting ready to pardon a lot of folks within the aforementioned agencies like the Secret Service, Homeland Security Department, FBI, because they know. We told you about some of the health news this morning. Health panel said women should have the option of taking their own samples for cervical cancer now. Task force came out with these new guidelines yesterday. Women in their 20s should still get a Pap test every 3 years, but after that, age 30 to 65, you can get one every 5 years. And those tests can be done a lot using samples collected by the patient herself or at a mobile clinic or a medical office now. They're doing it in other countries. Americans should eat more beans, more peas, and more lentils. Cut back on red meats. Mark, please do not eat more beans. I want you to live a long time, but as long as we're working, please don't. That's the advice of nutritional experts charged with the U.S. government's next edition of dietary guidelines. They didn't weigh in much on the role of ultra-processed foods being linked to our health problems, but they did say people should limit sugars, sodium, saturated fats in pursuit of a healthy diet. Recommendations will go to federal officials who will draft the final guidance. That is set to be released next year. Robert Kennedy, who was picked to head Health and Human Services, big proponent of getting these processed foods out of our diet. That big lawsuit by athletes against the NCAA is primed to pave the way for schools to pay them directly now. Also want a players' association to represent them in contract negotiations. Yes, folks, in the college ranks, judge overseeing the case, known as the House Settlement, said although they're generally happy with terms of the settlement, still remains a critical need for structural changes in order to protect athletes and prevent the failures of the past. The NCAA, folks, basically in the future is just going to become another pro league.
Already is.
With players getting paid, getting contracts, those kind of things. The big merger between supermarket chains Kroger and Albertsons floundered yesterday. Judges overseeing the cases stopped the deal. A judge in Oregon blocked the merger until an administrative judge at the FTC considers it. Shortly after that, a judge in Washington issued a permanent injunction barring the merger. So they know where to go.
Oh, yeah.
They went to judges in Oregon, and they went to ones in Washington. Kroger and Albertson proposed that they could merge, become a larger grocery store. FTC, State of Washington, sued this year to block it. Kroger and Albertsons both said they're disappointed with the decision, and they will review their options and where it may go from here. U.S. stock indexes drifted lower in the run-up to the highlight of the week on the market, which will be our update on inflation. We're expecting that anytime today or tomorrow. The S&P 500 was down 0.3 of a point. The Dow yesterday fell 0.3. NASDAQ also fell 0.3 of a point yesterday. Some of the movers and shakers on Wall Street. Alaska Air up dramatically, up 13%. They raised their forecast for profit. Airlines said demand for flying around the holidays has been stronger than expected. Boeing was up yesterday, 4.5%. They're resuming production of their best-selling plane. That is the 737 MAX. Vail Resorts, that was up 2.5%. Ski Operator reported a smaller first quarter, but it's traditionally their worst quarter of the year. Some of the shakers and movers yesterday. Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell fell yesterday, sprained his wrist while he was walking out of a luncheon. Series of medical incidents for him in recent years. Wyoming Senator John Barrasso was with him, and he's also a doctor. McConnell walked back to his office after the fall, had a small scratch. Medical staff there took a look at him. He's stepping down from his leadership post at the end of the year, as he should have retired many years ago, actually. Oh, General Motors is in the news again today. General Motors said they will retreat now from the robo-taxi business and stop funding its money-losing Cruise autonomous vehicle unit as well. See? You see what they did to these companies? Mm-hmm. Held guns to their heads. Instead, they're going to focus on development of partially automated driver assist systems. You may have seen the General Motors commercials where you can play a Queen song and clap your hands and let go of the steering wheel. It allows drivers to take their hands off the wheel if it is in autonomous mode. General Motors said it would get out of the robo-taxi business due to what they described as considerable time and resources that it needed for that business, along with an increasingly competitive robo-taxi market anyway. Electric vehicles, folks, have been the downfall of our major industries here when it comes to automobile manufacturing. Mm-hmm. Cost them billions and billions of dollars. And while Joe Burrow was playing in his Monday Night Football game, his home was being broken into. Latest home invasion. No one was hurt in the break-in, but the home was ransacked. Deputies were not immediately able to determine what items were stolen. Both the NFL now and the NBA have issued alerts to players following these break-ins, urging them to take precautions. The homes of Chief star Patrick Mahomes, Travis Kelce, broken into in October. Some of the Milwaukee Bucks players had their homes broken into. Mike Conley Jr. from the Timberwolves had his home broken into. But these thieves, they know what games or what nights, and they're going to the homes and they're breaking into the athletes. Now, you would think those athletes would have state-of-the-art, secure premises with the most top-notch surveillance and security measures put in place. But
well, the NFL sent out a memo to all the players because they think this is hooked to some gangs out of South America.
Wouldn't doubt it.
And they're doing surveillance and drones and guys pretending to be joggers and casing the place. And you obviously know the guy's not going to be home when you check the schedule.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so they're going to get their homes broken into. So it's a problem. Crazy world out there. Cat Country News Time, 6:45. We'll check weather next.
Well, had the big contract signing with Soto this week, the biggest contract in pro sports history, and they're just tossing money around like it's nothing. The Yankees agreed to an 8-year, $218 million contract with Max Fried, who played down for Atlanta and is one of the best pitchers in the league because they got the most money and they can pay the most guys the most money. And and they were bidding on Soto too.
And they didn't win the World Series.
No.
So there they go.
That's right.
Are gonna go out and buy them a team. 42 degrees today, folks. That's a little warmer than yesterday. And the winds have been the problem the last couple days, been making it feel a little chilly out there. We get to the weekend, though, we're going to warm up mid to upper 40s with good sunshine available. 33 out there right now, still a little breezy. 6:47, and that's what's happening. Mark and Paul here together. Thanks for tuning into The Cat.